Welcome to episode 42 on the Country Scroller, how I got started in the hobby. Welcome back from the intro. In this video I'll be telling my story on how I got started in the hobby of scrolling. Now my background, I usually always did something with wood, whether it be making something out of 2x4s or doing it something woodworking related. But I haven't got started into scrolling until about Christmas time around 2010. I started making nameplates for people with just a regular tree saw and my drill. And I made nameplates for everybody in my family, and they didn't look too pretty because they were all whittled out. But then I got started into scrolling, so that got the nameplates and all that a lot better to do, because that's actually what got me into actually scrolling out other stuff. So when I got started into scrolling, I came across some of the videos on Steve Good's website. And that's the first place I actually found stuff about scrolling. And I watched videos and learned a lot. And I started with a scroll saw that my mom's boyfriend has. And I'm not quite sure what brand it is, but it's really old. It had a lot of vibration and all that. It's probably like 15 years old at the most. And you'll get to see that scroll saw in the video here at the end. So I made plenty of projects with that, and my workshop at the time was in the garage, and I got moved out of there to this workshop. I'll explain that in a little while. I worked with that scroll saw for not too long actually, because my grandpa used to scroll and he's gone now, but my grandma still has his old Craftsman 16-inch scroll saw, and so I got that from her. I experimented with it for a little while, and I got the hang of that, and it's a heck of a lot better than the one I very first started on. So you'll get to see that scroll saw in the video too. So with that scroll saw, I had the workshop in the garage for quite a while, and I produced quite a bit of projects with that for about a year. And then eventually I moved out here to the DCSSW, and the DCSSW stands for Dustin Connor Scroll Saw Workshop. Now, I didn't really copy the scroll saw workshop part from Steve Good. I just decided to make my own and say Dustin Connor Scroll Saw Workshop, so I just called it the DCSSW. And I established in 2011, so I've been in this shop for about a little over 2 years now. I continued using the Craftsman scroll saw of my grandpa's. And I got all of the patterns and books and all that stuff from my grandma that he used. And I started using Flying Dutchman blades that I learned from Steve Good's stuff, and I used those, and that really was nice with the Craftsman scroll saw. And then I started having problems with the saw. The tensioning in the back started to strip on the wedges in the back of it, and I looked on the Sears, and they well, what I first of all tried to do is I thought it was the actual rod in the back. So when I ordered that, it had about 2.5 week order wait. So I decided to get the Harbor Freight scroll saw. And the reason why I did that is because I couldn't go 2.5 weeks without scrolling. Because at that point, I've been scrolling for almost a year. Or actually, almost about 2 years. And I scrolled every single day, and I was really hooked on scrolling. So with that, I ordered the part, and I got the Harbor Freight scroll saw to fill in. And that scroll saw, when I opened it and used it, I knew it was a bad decision to buy it, because it was pretty crappy saw, and you'll get to see that here in the video. So I didn't return it, but I'm looking to get rid of it soon, because it's taking up space in my workshop. So when I got the parts back for the Craftsman, it still didn't work, the tensioning on it. And I looked into it even more, and the parts that I should have got for it are unavailable because it's such an outdated part. And we decided if I was going to scroll anymore, I'd have to get a new scroll saw. And the new scroll saw that I got, as you know, is the DeWalt. and I decided I had to get something better than what I was working with, because you know, I couldn't get the same quality or crappier, because I'm just looking into getting better in the hobby of scrolling than staying where I was at the time. So with me and Dylan's money put together, we was able to afford the DeWalt scroll saw. We ordered the stand and the work light with it, and also the Jim Dandy's easy lift system. And you'll get to see some pictures of when we ordered it and all that, the boxes and stuff. And tell you what, that was probably the best experience I had, was seeing the UPS truck pull up with that big yellow box with the DeWalt on the side of it. That's really cool, because I thought I'd have to wait quite a while before I get something like that, because a lot of the scrollers around use the DeWalt, and it's a pretty nice scroll saw that some of the famous people use, and I thought that was really cool that I get to use that scroll saw. So I got that scroll saw put together and everything. I made my first couple cuts, and I fell in love right then and there. Ever since I got the DeWalt, I've been scrolling with it, and it's been doing very well for me, no problems at all, and I've just enjoyed every moment of it. So now I'm currently still running with the DeWalt, and I really like it, and I've started doing videos with it back in October. And next video will actually be how I got started into the videos and why. So this video is almost over. I'm going to show you all the scroll saws that I've used over time. So here they are. This is that ancient scroll saw that my mom's boyfriend gave me, or not gave me, but just let me use to start my scrolling. And I produced a lot of nameplates and stuff like that, and I made a couple bowls with it, like the Weave bowl on Steve Good's website. But when that thing didn't work too good for me, and I got the one from my grandma that my grandpa used, it is this. The Craftsman 16-inch variable speed scroll saw. Now I really like this saw, but in the back, the tensioning knob, the actual wedges that the rod turns on were stripped out, and that part was unavailable, so I ended up having to retire this saw. And the reason why I like this so much is it was really heavy, and the newer ones aren't that heavy, so that really cut down the vibration on this saw. So if I were to get a newer Craftsman at the time I was deciding on what to get, it probably would have been a downgrade. When I was waiting for the part, I got this Harbor Freight scroll saw. It's a 16-inch variable speed, and my first experience with it, I knew that it was a waste of money and that I shouldn't have gotten it, but I just needed something to cut for a week or two before I got the parts back from my Craftsman, and that ended up being a flop. So if you're looking into getting a scroll saw, I do not recommend this unless you're a very beginner, because if you've already used something that you've produced projects with, this is not the way to go. I mean, the table on this thing isn't very big. It's pretty light, which makes the vibration crazy. And then these blades have to be pin-end. I don't know how well you can see that. And if you want it to be plain end, you have to use these adapters on it, the top and bottom, and that is a hassle and a half to keep those on there if you keep putting the blade in and out. So that was just a waste of money, if you ask me. So with saving for about a month and transferring money and all that, I was able to get the DeWalt 20-inch 788 scroll saw, and I purchased the stand with it, the work light, and also the Jim Dandy easy lift system. I bought it when I bought the saw, and that came first, and then the saw came. And I was very pleased with this scroll saw. The assembly for the stand took a little while, but once I got it all together, the first cut was awesome. I also have the foot switch down there, and that makes it really easy because I sit at a stool on it. I just screwed it into the actual metal plate on the stand. So that's what I'm currently working with, and I love it. That's my story on how I got into scrolling. I hope you liked it, and here's some pictures that will end the video of my DeWalt when it first came. So I hope you enjoy this video. I'm Dustin.
And I'm Dylan.
We'll see you later on the Country Scroller. We appreciate you watching.